Here I have two Excel files. Each file has a table, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to combine these tables in Excel's Power Query. However, the issue is that the headers in the table, they differ. The names are slightly different. So in this case, for example, on the table on the left, you can see the business name is called firm. That's the column header. Whereas on the table on the right, this blue table, the header is called business, right? And you can see the same for column C. This is called workforce, and this is called staff. So it's the same thing, but just different names. So when we combine these two tables in Power Query, we're going to get some errors that we're going to need to work through. So I'm going to be showing you how to do that in just a moment here. The first thing I'll do is I'll just start a blank Excel file. And by the way, both of these Excel files are saved into a folder in my documents, so I can always access them. So what I'll do is I'll go into our data tab here, and I will close these files for now as I transform them into Excel. Okay, now that the Excel file is open, I'll just go into get data from file and from folder. Now, as I said, both of the files are in this folder here called new folder. And so when I just click on it, you can see these are my two Excel files that I want to merge together. But of course, they're not ready to be combined just yet. I'm going to go into transform data. And over here, I'm just going to go into here and combine files. And this is asking me a sample file. So as we can recall, both files were slightly different in terms of the column header names. It doesn't really matter which file we use as our sample file, as I'll show you in a moment. I'm going to select table 1 because each Excel file contains only the data that's in table format. So again, doesn't really matter, but I'm going to choose table 1. And you can see this brings me into a combined Excel file, and this table is essentially combined the data from my first Excel file, which was called statistics1, and my second Excel file, which was called statistics2. My first table was 136 rows, so let's go down 136 rows and let's see if we can find the data for the second table. And you can see we have errors starting at row 136, and the reason is because as you may recall, my Excel files, statistics2, the names of the headers were different. And because those names were different, now it's not showing those values. The revenue name was the same, that's why it's showing. But the workforce, the headquarters, the firm name, all of these headers were different in statistics2. So because of this lack of alignment in the names, it's not matching and it's showing us null. So let me show you how to work around this. We're going to go into our transform sample file here in the query. And once we get here, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our home tab. And after that, you see where it says use first row as headers. I'm going to select the arrow and I'm going to say use headers as first row. And by doing this, I've essentially demoted the headers over here because these headers are different from the headers in the second Excel file. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into remove rows, remove top rows, and we're just going to remove row number 1, which was the headers that we've just demoted. So one row and press OK. And that gets rid of the row. Now keep in mind that whatever we're doing to this, it affects all of the other Excel files. So in our case, it's the second Excel file that's in our Power Query editor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename all of these columns based on whatever I desire. So I'll just call this here firm, and then I'll do the same for the remaining columns. Okay, so I've renamed all the columns. Again, it doesn't really matter what you name them, but I've went ahead and I've renamed them. So now with both Excel files, the top header row is gone and it's replaced by this, okay? And by doing this, when we go back to our main file that we combined, it should circumvent our error. So we're gonna go back to our main file, new folder, and as you can see, it gives us an error. And simply just to mitigate this, we're just gonna go into our applied steps and we're gonna remove the changed type step. And as you can see, this loads up our data. And you can see now everything is showing over here. Now let's go down to row 136 and let's see if that is giving us any issues anymore. So here we are, row 136 right over here. And you can see statistics2 Excel file. This is when it starts rolling in. And we have all the data coming in with no issues whatsoever. What I will do before I export this into an Excel table is I'll just go to source name, and I don't want this column, so I'm just going to remove this column. I don't really care what the source is. But again, it really depends on what you're doing in Excel. I'm going to go into close and load, and I'll just load it into Excel. And you can see this way we've merged both Excel files. So we should have just about 210 to 212 rows. We can see we have, yeah, just about there. So that means both Excel files have now merged. And this way we've circumvented the error that we were getting with the different header names as well. So that's how you can kind of override this error and merge files with Power Query in Excel. As always, I hope you found this valuable, and thank you for watching.